My fellow Americans, happy Independence Day. We as Americans on this day like to celebrate the men and the women and the children thereof, the actions and written words of Americans that we read or hear of were and are what makes Americans great. Sacrifice seems to be the through line that bonded them all. Sacrifice for one cause, freedom. America, however, is only as great as the Americans that populate the land. We can blame the government, the Republicans, the Democrats. We can blame big business. We can blame big tech, big media. We can blame the educational system. We can blame the institutions. All of which, all of the above, are warranted and founded claims. However, the men and women and children mentioned prior had a much greater grievance and less incentive to sacrifice, yet not for themselves, but because of a belief in one cause. Their sacrifice still resonates even today. Our plight is more palatable. It's gross, but more palatable. Our choice now is to either eat around the mold or wait until there is only mold. We either pick up this can, this gross can, understand the shoulders that we stand on, or we doom our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. My name is Dylan Thomas Tedder, and I wish to be President of the United States of America in the year 2028. I want to be the man that's willing to pick up the can, gross as it admittedly is. Somebody needs to. Somebody needs to remind Americans that America won't be great until Americans are great again. And all it takes is someone reminding them of what it is that made Americans great. Sacrifice for family, sacrifice for country, despite the government, and because of God. Above all, a sacrifice to an almighty God. That's what made the men, women, and children all those years ago that we still hear about today. That's what made them great. And so, as president, I have a platform, and I thought it fitting on this day that we celebrate our independence that I would put together my platform and release it. I will go over it very quickly and then in more detail go over it again. I've titled my platform Gross. I find it fitting. The goal of my platform, of my administration, would be to incentivize better trade-offs. The wisest and most intelligent man I've ever listened to of the 20th century was Thomas Sowell, and one of my favorite quotes of his is, "There are no solutions, just trade-offs." Only trade-offs. I believe he says only trade-offs. I want to incentivize better trade-offs. The economy is always on the top of mind. Is that the term that we use nowadays? The top of mind of most Americans. And very quickly, the things that I will be discussing as far as my administration and the economy are unfunded mandatory spending, a manufacturing crisis, reproductive rates. I know no one talks about that as far as the economy, but If we don't have people, you don't have an economy. So we have to do something about that. Um, Budgets, both personal, family, local, state, federal. We'll discuss budgets. I will discuss staples in Americans' lives like gas, milk, eggs, and bread, and how they've become, rather than staples, luxuries in some American homes. And I don't care how many homes it is, if gas, milk, and eggs, and bread are a luxury in my nation, that's a problem. Um, be it that we have all of the gas that we would need, we have all of the cows that we would need, we have all of the chickens we would need, and we have all of the wheat that we would need. I I find it hard to imagine that these things have taken place. It's upsetting. I will talk about job creation using both military and manufacturing. I will talk about child tax credits that are criteria based, mainly being are the parents married and living together? Um, Things that I would deem to be very controversial. Well, I mean, the most controversial one I mentioned at the top. I just said it differently so that way you didn't hear what I said. But unfunded mandatory spending. Think about what those issues are. You probably are already mad at me. So I'll make you a little bit more mad. Here we go. I'm going to end via executive order no fault divorce. It goes away. I take the final nail in the coffin of the nuclear family, and I rip it right out of the coffin in hopes that we can open up the coffin completely and fix this reproductive rate problem that we have, this nuclear family problem that we have. Again, if you don't have people, you don't have an economy. The most important part of an economy is the people, folks. Hey. And in line with no-fault divorce and reproduction rates, I'm going to ban the abortion pill. If I can't ban abortion outright, if you're going to have an abortion, there should be some consequence for you taking an unborn child's life. And if I can't punish you, I can at least make you punish yourself. If you want to punish yourself, go right ahead. Otherwise, hey, there's child tax credits that if you are married to that guy, and if you were, you chose to have a child, if you thought a little bit ahead of the actions that you're doing. Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. I'm guessing you know where I stand on that. Another issue that seems to be that's popular with the American people is immigration. What are you going to do about immigration? Which order should I put this in? I'll start with build the wall. Without going into too much detail here, I'll simply say that in the last 3 years, the American the American people have spent $190 billion on Ukraine alone. In the year 2016, the American people needed $20 billion to build a wall from sea to shining sea. You do the math and you justify that to me. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm building the wall. There you go. I'm also using the military to secure the wall. By any means, all right? We have to do something about this. It's unpopular, controversial, and all that good stuff. But hey, what did I name my platform? Gross. I let you know right off the top, folks. I'm not the guy who's going to show you all the beautiful pictures of your refinished bathroom, your renovated kitchen. No, I'm going to let you know that, yeah, it's going to take 6 weeks. It's going to be gross. It's going to be a nasty process, but it will, hey, I'm the guy that's, trying to incentivize the better trade-off, but also acknowledging that it's a trade-off, right? Anywho, I'm authorizing every jurisdiction, local, state, and federal, to remove. I'm funding deport facilities in every major city that will be deporting, not keeping in cages or whatever else you want to call it. I don't know. They're going to be on a bus and they'll be gone beyond the wall. And if they try to come back to the wall, there's a good chance they're going to be shot. Men, women, and yes, even children. If you are choosing to take your child across, then you are guilty of the child neglect. Especially given how legal immigration has been changed over the last 2 decades. Anywho, let's see. Yeah, authorize the military to secure the wall until CBPD can handle it. And I'm shutting down all immigration of any type, with very few exceptions, for 4 years. Again, this is just a brief overview of the platform. Foreign policy. Probably one of my, okay. Again, the name of the platform is called Gross. And I started this off by saying that I wanted to eat around the mold. So I'm acknowledging that this is gross. I'm just trying to say that given sacrifice, if we sacrificed, a little bit, we could make Americans, we could become better Americans. We could be great Americans, and that would make America great again. Sacrifice. Alright, foreign policy. Here we go. Brief overview, so that way you all don't lose your minds. Add 3 states to the Union. I'm adding Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan to the United States of America. All 3 of their governments will be dissolved, and yeah, I'll tell you more about that. And there's lots of details. Every nation whose GDP consists of 15% of oil, any nation where their GDP, they have oil that is making up their GDP. If 15% of their GDP is oil, I'm taking 50% of their oil GDP. So instead of 15, they're now getting 7.5. I'm going to do what it takes to make the petrodollar strong again. Yeah, that's... And if all of that wasn't, controversial or whatever, awful enough, I'm going to populate every military base that we've built since World War II with 50,000 troops. I'm going to pay vets and active military personnel $100,000. I'm going to pay new recruits $1 million over 4 years. You give me 4 years where you're going to go populate a military base and you're going to, be forced to do stuff that no human being should have to do. If you're going to sacrifice that, when you get home, you get $1 million untaxed by the United States Treasury and untouched by the Federal Reserve. Fuck them all. Sorry, institutions. Not really, but I'm trying to. Anyway, yeah. $1 million untouched, untaxed. There you go. One-time fee. It's only going to cost me $9 trillion, a one-time $9 trillion, bill or executive order. I don't know. I think I'd probably have to get a bill for that, which, probably won't happen. But hey, this is my platform. I have to tell you what I want to do and why I want to do it. If you think of the money that we're taking in, though, once we take 50% of every nation that has at least 15% of their GDP being made up of oil, If you did the math on that, you'd find out exactly how easy I plan on paying for that $9 trillion. But that's part of the details. And that brings me to education. I dare anybody with children in public school right now, do me this favor. I dare you. Go to your next school board meeting. And here's what two things you are going to recognize very quickly. Both are very depressing and in a lot of ways are the problem with our educational system. And if you ask me, it all comes back to it being our fault. We can blame the educational system, we can blame the institutions, we can blame the media, we can blame the government, we can blame everybody. But the fact of the matter is, until we look in the mirror and take responsibility of the education of our children seriously, then, well, bureaucrat's gonna bureaucrat. That's just the way of the world, folks. The two things that you'll notice, though, are one, the severe lack of parent representation at the school board meeting. I have gone to several school board meetings. Heck, I ran for Delaware City School Board, okay? The very first meeting I went to, I was the only parent there. And after I spoke at the school board meeting, the few little old ladies that were there and weren't on the board asked me to run for Delaware City School Board. I thought, well, this is kind of my gig, so sure, why not? So I did. And and only those with children in the school district should be allowed to be board members of that school district. If you don't have children, these people don't even have children. These board members, they don't even have children, let alone a vested interest because they actually have children in the actual school district, which is just befuddling to me. Other than that, just money following the students, and we end the unions. We end the unions so that way bad teachers can be getting rid of, and the money follows the students so that way parents are more incentivized to take responsibility of their children's education. Other than that, we're at almost 18 minutes, so there's a brief overview of my platform that I call Gross, and it all starts with sacrifice from the American people and bringing back what makes Americans great again so that America can be great again. All that being said, my name is Dylan Thomas Tedder. I love this land. I love this country, despite the government, and I always will. And the American people are still the greatest people on the planet. And when we realize that, and we start taking pride in that, and understanding why we should take pride in that, and the shoulders that we stand on, and the God that the shoulders that we stand on believed in, that's when we'll see the change that we want to see. And I hope to start in 2029. Be blessed.